Looks like the gun is loaded, the trigger has been pulled. Insidious Chill's discard effects are on the table here. That's the game, folks.
Andrew, of course, is going to activate creepers.
Green light. Come on in. Sonata Arcanics.
Oh, here we go. Sonata. Are we pitching into it? Looks like we are.
We are. And now Andrew just has to go, all right.
All right, the moment of truth. We've got attack, attack, non-attack, non-attack. Wow.
Oh, God. Oh.
If Porter's got the 0 go again in hand, I think this is game. And it's a rabble.
It's a ravenous rabble.
Hey everybody, it is Saturday night, and as the song goes, that is all right for fighting. I am Patrick Shaw from the Combat Chain. With me is Andy Modell, and here we are about to do some more play-by-play here for Week 6 semifinals action for the FTC Cup. Andy, how you doing?
Hey, Pat, I'm doing well. Yeah, semifinals always an exciting time. We've got 4 teams eventually at the end of this weekend. After today, we're just going to have 2. So best 3 out of 5. We saw 3 matches yesterday. We're going to get 3 more today. And the other ones, they're still being played, but we just aren't going to be able to show them to you. Still, though, I'm excited to see some of today's games, and hopefully either later today or tomorrow we'll be able to announce who are the 2 teams in the finals.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking of the action here tonight, we got a lot of we're going to see a lot of ice and a lot of mechanologists here. Sometimes it's how the cookie crumbles, but we got 3 matches for us in front of us tonight. We're going to start with an Icelander mirror match. We're pitting Team Gold versus Blue Pitch, and it is Ray Lamb on Icelander versus Tsang on Icelander. And I think we're going to cut to that right now, and away we go. We see the dice roll. Someone got a 12.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we don't know if they're doing even or odds or a high roll there, but always fun to see all 12 pips up. Icelander mirrors, though, those are some pretty interesting games. It's almost like you're starting to play the 3D chess when you get Wizards mirrors, have to remember whose turn is whose, and all of the opportunities to do things at instant speed in response to other things really makes for, in my opinion at least, an exciting game to play, and hopefully an exciting game to cast.
Yeah, it is a hell of a thing. Wondering who has priority when you're not in front of it. So it'll be an adventure for sure. Both heroes at 36. Tell me a little bit about the mirror match here and what each player should be looking for.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to consider is that Alluvian Constellus chest piece. When you're fighting as a wizard against someone who deals arcane damage, that other player is going to have to worry about every instance that you use Arcane Barrier the first time each turn. You're going to put a counter there, and it basically gives you free resources or free swinging of the Waning Moon. When you're playing in the Icelander Mirror, you're both trying to deal arcane damage, but maybe not so much arcane damage that if the opponent's going to block it out, they're getting the counter and nothing's happening really to advance the game state. So just the fact that we've seen already a counter on Alluvian Constellus is something that I wanted to think about. Also, you got to think about the instant speed and how the game actually ends. Both players have Storm Striders, which can let them play one of their wizard cards basically whenever they want. If either player is at low enough health, it could be time for an insta-kill, basically, if they don't have the Arcane Barrier in their hand. But also, if both players are equally at low health, you might see people just pass turns a bit more than usual, try to keep that Arcane Barrier pitch cards in their hand, because they don't want to get killed themselves unless they're sure that they have victory.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, we opened here with, I believe, an Ice Bolt for 1 targeting themselves with the and I think this happened now on turn 1 with I believe Sing is on the left and Lamb is on the right. I could be wrong, but it does look like both players played an arcane that had any targeted themselves, and then pitched to Constanellis to prevent the damage to gain the counter on there. Would you say that is an accurate statement?
That's what it looks like. We, of course, don't have the player's audio feed, so we only get what they have in their actions. But that's usually a strategy that you see. Being able to put a counter on Alluvian Constellus like that, that's basically half of a free swing of Waning Moon. It's the same thing as potentially Ticking Tunic, basically, where you're advancing towards free resources. And if you can do that on the turn where you know you're going to draw up and it's not going to give your opponent an opportunity to do anything, then it's a pretty useful thing to have going on. Right now, it looks like we're debating whether or not Shing is going to respond to anything going on his opponent's turn. He's got the set card. Icelander can do stuff with blue cards set at instant speed. And I guess figuring out what to do on your opponent's turn and then also what to do on your turn with the remaining cards is where a lot of the brain power comes in. Playing the hero alone. Playing into the mirror, you got to think just a bit extra, because not only on your turn are you worried about what you're going to do, you're then worried about what your opponent's going to do. So trying to think 2 or even 3 steps ahead.
And we do see the the 2 Spider-Mans pointing at each other. That is 2 of the name escapes me. That blue is an arcane bolt,
That's
I believe.
Hail.
Aether Hail, dueling Aether Hails coming into one another.
Yeah, Aether Hail's a great card to have set as Icelander. You can pitch a blue, play Aether Hail for 1, that deals 2 arcane damage, and then using the other 2 resources, Waning Moon for 3, it's 5 resources for the 1 pitch and the 1 play, and you get the Frostbite for your opponent. In this case, it looked like the Frostbite didn't really affect anything, but still, that was the move played. Over here now we have, Enlightened Strike coming in.
Yeah, the traditional value play here, the E-Strike coming in for 7. We see a 3 block, taking 4 down to 32, and it looks like Ray is responding with a Wounded Bull, gets the +1 because he's at the lower life, coming in for an 8 for 2 in response to the E-Strike.
Yeah, in a lot of these Icelander matches where you have more of the Bull-Lander strategy with these aggressive attacks, sometimes it becomes almost more of a tempo game. I'm swinging with my attack. On your turn, you're swinging with your attack. I'm setting a card so that I might do something on your turn, but other times I might not. Over here, it looks like Tsang kept his set card in so that he could use the 2 cards in hand to play that Frost Hex. One of the ways that this game ends, there are a few ways. One of them is just tempo until the end. But another way is if you get enough Frost Hexes against the Icelander mirror, you can actually pull off that combo with Ice Eternal, where the Frostbites plus the Frost Hex end up giving you the win all at once.
Yeah, and that is brutal when it happens. We see the Insidious Chill being played on Ray's side, so the board state starting to get a little crowded, and we see Ray with the Enlightened Strike of his own, presumably for 7, no card draw.
Yeah, one of the strategies that you'll see often is that they'll use Enlightened Strike to draw a card so that they can pitch whatever they have left for Arcane Barrier and then still be able to set a card. Over here, looks like that wasn't a big consideration. We see the Waning Moon coming in, and Lamb is just taking it because he wants to keep that card to set for his arsenal.
Yeah. Now, is there consideration here on maintaining that kind of low life, lower life than your opponent, and kind of taking those hits as they come, at least in the early and the mid game?
I think there's definitely a consideration for the efficiency of the cards that you're playing and whether it's worth using them to block or using them to get more damage out. One of the things that I think we often see in these mirror matches is players don't side in Scar for Scar, mainly because if you play a Scar for Scar, your opponent has the opportunity to potentially disrupt you and give you a Frostbite before you can play your 3-cost attack. Icelander doesn't really like that disruption, surprisingly enough, because when you're playing things that have either equal or super efficient costs, having that extra resource necessary can just mess you up. So in general, you're only having the Heart of Fiandel for pitching, of course, but then the Wounded Bull and the Fiandel's Fighting Spirit. It might be nice to have a little bit lower life, but at the same time, if you can stay at higher life, you're still at higher life. And in this case, we see 29 to 28, no life gain from that fighting spirit, but it was still the play that ended up showing up.
Yep, and very prescient call for the fighting spirit as it's played out, and we see Ray responding with a frost hex of his own, dueling frost hexes now. Ray on the board state side seems to be having the edge with the single insidious chill. We've seen in previous mirror matches here in FTC, such as Adam Philipchuk versus Yuki Lee Bender, that can make all the difference in the world, getting your insidious chills and ability to fuse them quicker. And that's exactly what we see here with Ray, with the Aether Ice Vein fused, triggering the insidious chill.
Yeah, this is often the Icelander mirror becomes a tempo game, right? And so if you can use the Aether Ice Vein, the Insidious Chill to take those cards out of your opponent's hand, then they're going to be able to do less stuff on their turn, but they also going to have to sort of push what they're doing on your turn to the in response of this, because they know that they're basically going to be crippled next turn with regards to their opportunities. Now, we do see Tsang still has that set card. We don't know what it is. It could be something useful in a pinch. But overall, a red Aether Ice Vein, very powerful. It costs 5 resources to prevent all of that damage. With the added pitch 2 from Insidious Chill, that means you got to have 7 resources if you want to stop the Aether Ice Vein's trigger. And so that's like more than 2 cards either pitched or discarded or paid. Overall, if you want to stop that. A very effective play. We do see, though, that he did have enough to come back with another Fendel's Fighting Spirit, so trying to keep that tempo up. It looks like this Aether Ice Vein wasn't the tempo swing that it could have been.
And now we've seen 2 Fighting Spirits and an E-Strike by Tsang, E-Strike and a Wounded Bull, I believe 2 E-Strikes and a Wounded Bull, I think, on Ray's side. But those tempo cards coming out often and early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like, wow, Ray Lamb just had a ton of those Aether Ice Veins all in a row. One thing you got to look at is how many counters he still has on Insidious Chill. He's down to 1 right now. While Insidious Chill is definitely something useful to try and keep and maintain tempo during the game, sometimes you want to consider how many you want to hold back for the end of that game, for that killing blow, if you need to have that extra discard effect before your damage gets through.
Absolutely, and that came up last night in the Rakowski-Hamilton match, where we had surmised that he did not have enough for lethal in the end game because we knew the Reds were gone.
Yeah, I was actually playing myself an Icelander Mirror today, and the game ended because I was able to play an Emeritus Scolding both from hand and from Arsenal. So some of our math where 7 was the only number may not have necessarily been as accurate, but you would still need the set card to be able to pull that off with the boots. Over here, though, we have both players with 1 Frost Hex out. We didn't see any Frost Hexes yesterday. Hamilton probably sided that out against the Phi. And we do have that 1 Insidious Chill almost all out for Ray Lamb. The life totals 17 to 23. We're at that mid-game stage here, where neither player is really in the danger zone, but it's going to be not too long before one of them does reach that point. Looks like they had to do a rollback or something, and hopefully we'll be able to get that rewind. Yeah.
Oh, and it looks like the board is getting back to its normal state. We have Ray Lamb versus Tsang here. Gold versus blue pitch, Icelander mirror. Ray Lamb is on the right in red, and Tsang is on the left in blue. Tsang ahead on life currently, 23 to 17. And as mentioned, with dueling Frost Hexes on the board, with Ray up in Insidious Chill, but down to 1 counter here on FTC Saturday Night Slaughter. And the Channel Lake Frigid from Tsang coming out.
Yeah, Channel Lake Frigid is one of those cards that tends to be more useful the farther into the game you get in this mirror match. If you're able to use it to prevent your opponent from winning, then that's the way that you get the benefit. Over here, though, looks like Ray Lamb saw that Channel Lake and said, oh, I got one of those too. Playing his over there in response, having the Channel Lake Frigid on both sides. These players are going to have a tough time using the maximum efficiency plans that they would have Also, in the Icelander mirror, usually you are seeing that Null Rune Hood. So if they have one card in their hand and it's a nice card and they want to, say, pitch to Cornet Peak to keep it, that's no longer an option because the card just isn't there on the board. We'll see if either of these Channel Lakes last more than one turn or even more than 2 turns.
Yeah, with all this simultaneous action happen, I can't help but hear in my head the dueling banjos theme from Deliverance, as the two opposing players just keep throwing the identical things right at each other.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes in these mirror matches to figure out whose turn it actually is. We saw the instance feed from Arsenal on Raylam's last turn. It's Raylam's turn right now, coming in with a cold snap at normal action point speed. But in general, I think most players, when they're in this mirror, will actually have a physical token, maybe on the playmats. I've definitely had one of my locals and we put a D20, and whoever has the D20 on their playmat, it's their turn. Just because sometimes with everything going on the stack, you forget, oh, I can attack, or I do have an action point right now, or oh, I've already used it, and I'm not going to draw up at the end of the turn. It's one of those things where you can get confusion as the player's playing, and it's even more when we're watching this and we're not the ones actively thinking whose turn is whose.
We're watching this, and our audience is watching us on FTC Saturday Night Slaughter, brought to you by Fab Foundry. Don't forget to go to fabfoundry.co, and when you're buying your singles, use the code TEAMCUP10 to get 10% off your singles purchases over at Fab Foundry. And thanks to Fab Foundry for sponsoring this tournament.
Yeah, very, very many thanks to Fab Foundry. They've been doing an excellent job with this Team Cup. Over here, looks like we're back into things as another Fendel's Fighting Spirit comes in on Tsing's side, only to be blocked by This Round's on Me. If you're talking about buying singles, This Round's on Me is definitely one of the more popular ones right now. You want to get that 10% off.
Absolutely, the sky's the limit. We have seen all three fighting spirits here from Tsing, and now the follow-up fighting spirit as raised a game has been is to simply play the card that he has just seen. We've seen the Frost Texas, the Channel Lake Fridges, the E-Strikes, and now the Fighting Spirit coming right back at Tsing, who can't help.
This is one of those things where Channel Lake Frigid can actually be a benefit when your opponent has it. Over here, you got to pitch 2 ice cards in order to keep it around for the next turn. Well, I got to pay 4 resources for my Fighting Spirit. I might as well pitch 2 ice cards. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to put that second ice card in the pitch zone. So Channel Lake Frigid sometimes keep each other around. It's like a nice cold winter huddle.
Yep, and Icelander knows all about being in the cold with it looks like she's dressed pretty warm as well. Not as warm as Oldham, grandfather of eternity, with his furs, but it does look like she's doing well for herself, though less formal wear than what she was wearing in Everfest.
Yeah. All right, over here it looks like Tsing is going to be taking that damage. Yeah, just a little bit of a lag there on the life counter. So we got 16 life to 14 life. We are entering into that late game phase, right? Both players could potentially, maybe not this turn, but in another turn, they can use this turn to set up, try and get cards out of the opponent's hand, and then swing back on their own turn, or on the other person's turn with the instant speed action. Both players only have 1 Frost Hex out, though, so you're not going to be seeing any super big combos, but still, something like a large Ice Eternal in response to whatever's played can do some serious damage, and the Frostbites can make it difficult to try and follow up if necessary.
And Tsang showing just how ridiculous his hand actually was here with the Ice Vein fused with the Channel Lake Frigid, pitching double Insidious Chills to make it all happen. To your point about the Channel Lake Frigids getting those ice cards in the bin.
Yeah. Channel Lake Frigid, definitely a nice card for Tsing to still have in hand, but it looks like he's pitching it for the Waning Moon. The Channel Lake Frigid he has, I don't think is going to stick around for a 3rd turn there.
believe it would if he's at 2. I believe those 2 Insidious Chills and the
You're right. I'm
Channel
sorry. That
Lake.
was 2 Insidious Chills. Yeah. So
hmm
Channel Lake Frigid up to 3 counters. That's always the rarity, the fun one, when you get 3 counters in Channel Lake Frigid. Over here, looks like a pitch or a discard from the effect of the Aether Ice Vein. And with Channel Lake Frigid sitting happy over there, Ray has 1 card in hand. His is definitely going to go away that turn.
Yep, no real way to get those get that ice card into pitch. So this will be the last one for Ray. Tsang sitting pretty. 5 card in hand, card in arsenal. Channel Lake and Frost Hex here. Ray a little bit on the back foot, lower life, and about to lose at least 1 key piece here.
Yeah, we'll see if Tsang does anything at instant speed right now. He's had that card sitting in his arsenal for a very long time, almost the whole game, I think. We really haven't seen what that is. So I'm very curious to see if this is something he was saving until later, or if it was something placed there that maybe wasn't actually the best card to put there. Yeah, because nothing's happening at instant speed on Lamb's turn right now.
Yep, and it does look like Ray was able to draw up and end his turn without Tsang taking any actions here. So it looks like we are back to Tsang from Blue Pitch as he's the active player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is where the Icelander mirror just gets a bit tricky. Both players, they want to be able to save some cards for Arcane Barrier. They also want to still present threats because you want to win the game, right? You don't want to just sit there and stalemate waiting for the other person to not make a move. So really figuring out what is worth spending cards on to advance that state while not letting your opponent get too much. If, for example, you're throwing something in for maybe 5 damage on a Aether Ice Vein, and your opponent can use a bunch of their cards to swing 3 Ice Bolt from Arsenal and 3 from Waning Moon, that's 6 damage. So ignoring the disruption, you got a numbers difference over there. And depending on how many cards you want to keep in hand, it can get pretty interesting.
Yeah, we see Tsang here kind of deep in the tank, trying to suss out his lines here. He had moved the Channel Lake Frigid momentarily. You know, that's the telltale sign of making room on the board, so he can put a lot of cards down. Let's see what he has. Constanellis is up to 4 counters going on there with Ray at 14. Is Ray at risk here between the Metacarpus nodes and everything else going on there of being in lethal range?
Yeah, you got to think what can happen not only over the course of 1 turn, but over the course of 2 turns. Tsang can come over with some threat, some aggression right now to deal some damage, and then follow up on the opponent's turn at instant speed. The one thing that normally you'd want to have on your side, though, are either some of those additional permanents that cause the disruption effects. We haven't seen him play any Insidious Chills. We saw him pitch a few. He hasn't played any Amulet of Ice. Having these cards on the board is really what makes it easy to end the game in these mirror matches. Right now, it looks like we are seeing what appears to be a red Aether Ice Vein, such a great card. Frost Hex as the Fuse card, Ice Eternal as the Pitch card. So he has a lot of these cards that you want to see, the power cards, but having them all at once may not necessarily have been what he wanted.
Nope, but we do see Ray losing 2 cards in the process here, being reduced down to a 2-card hand. But it does look like he was able to prevent all of that damage.
When we only have to stop 5 damage and you don't have an extra pitch 2 from the Insidious Chill, from the Amulet of Ice, the Red Aether Ice Vein is nowhere near as threatening as if you have even 1 more of those. And in the same line, the Red Aether Ice Vein plus a pitch 2 effect is so much worse than a Yellow Aether Ice Vein, because 4 plus 2 is 6, that's still just 2 blues. In this case, Ray Lamb was able to get by the turn only pitching 2 cards, still has a card in arsenal, still has 2 cards in hand, and now there's no more Channel Lake Frigid to deal with. So we'll see how he's able to strike back. Still, if Tsang has something at instant speed they want to play from their arsenal, right now there's no cards left, no resources for Arcane Barrier. This is where things can start going. But it looks like it's just an energy potion.
No frostbite action happening there. It does get the potion on the board, but Ray puts the second Frost Hex And we see Tsang simply respond with a waning moon, and Ray takes 3 down to 10.
Yeah, Singh pitched his Frost Hex, so clearly trying to win via a more tempo, aggressive focus strategy, not worrying too much about the Frost Bites, playing an Enlightened Strike, very big card over here. One of the things that I think is interesting when you've got Frost Hexes of your opponents on the board is you got to look at that Alluvian Constellus and being able to use it to basically get rid of Frost Bites. In response to the Frostbite trigger from Icelander's ability, you remove 2 tokens, you reduce the cost of your Waning Moon, and then you can swing your Waning Moon for basically -1 plus the Frostbite, gets rid of the Frostbite for free. However, because this was an Enlightened Strike play on Singh's turn, he hasn't played the non-attack action he would need to be able to do this and use the Waning Moon. So he's got that Frostbite coming in. He's probably, if he wants to prevent that damage, gonna have to pitch a resource. Otherwise, Waning Moon for 3 right now, plus 2 more coming in as those Frost Hexes hit him at the end of the turn.
Is that so? The Constant Nihilus are both at multiple counters. I believe they could both be used, but is that to say that they're likely holding on to those for the moment those Frostbites come in, where they could be used?
Yeah, as Icelander, you can think about it either as a way to get more efficient use of your Waning Moon, or in cases where you might have to deal with the Frostbite, as a way to null that out. The Constant Nihilus reduces the cost of the weapon attack by 3 resources, Waning Moon costing 2. That basically makes the cost -1. And since additions are applied before reductions, it's actually just 3 with a Frostbite, -3 goes to a 0 cost, and then the Frostbite would go away. So it's almost a potentially defensive maneuver to have 2 counters at least up so that you can get rid of them in response to a Frostbite showing up. When you can play Waning Moon, that is. Over here, we see that Enlightened Strike, very efficient, very powerful attack, but the Waning Moon text says you can't even activate the ability unless you've played a non-attack action. It's not something that says, oh, you doesn't deal any damage unless you played a non-attack action. You can't even activate that ability. So over here, we are getting 2 damage on Tsang from each of those Frost Hexes.
And we do see there was a 1-card block. I believe that was an Aether Ice Vein coming. So the E-Strike leaking through, and Ray responding with his own Fyndale's Fighting Spirit for 7, gaining a life in the process. But
Yeah,
Tsang at 5 cards here. So with Ray at 6, I got to imagine that he is well within Storm Strider's multiple arcane non-attack lethal range.
Yeah, this is 100% that danger zone. Depending on what that set card is for Tsang, the Waning Moon deals 3 damage. The set card could deal any amount of damage up to 4, and then with Storm Striders, you got another 4. The card in Raylam's hand only pitches for up to 3. And right now, it looks like, yeah, we are seeing that Storm Striders come in, going in for an Aether Ice Vein. That's going to be 5 or 6 damage if he chooses to activate the nodes. Looks like damage coming through the Waning Moon. There's just not enough left life-wise on Raylam's side. This game is going to go over to Tsang Sing from Team Blue Pitch.
Yep, a pretty textbook Icelander finish here. The Storm Striders into the Ice Vein and the Metacarpus node, buffing them and finishing off Raylam from Team Gold. So there we have the Team Gold versus Blue Pitch, the Icelander mirror, wrapping up game number 1 here of 3 tonight on the Saturday night slaughter. Yeah, Icelander mirrors. Very, very interesting. Can be a little confusing. I do like how they're a little more tempo based these days. I like to see red cards that attack for numbers. You know what I mean? That's something I can understand. And having Hamilton kind of pioneer that value based effect is or deck build has made things a little easier for the smoother brains of us walking around in room temperature here. But our next match here will come up in a couple minutes. We will take just a 90-second break in a second here, but our next match is going to be Brodie Spurlock versus Travis McDaniel's Runaways versus Indy Arsenal, and that is going to be Brody on Icelander stepping away from Briar, and Travis McDaniel's on Dash.
Yeah, we did see Brody using Icelander over at that, I believe the Battle Hardened in Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh, whichever one in Pennsylvania followed Worlds. He ended up doing pretty well there. He obviously didn't win. There was a dash mirror in the finals. But I know he's definitely been using Icelander, really getting the reps on it. I heard as a rumor that he didn't want to have it hit Living Legend before he could take it to the Pro Quests. We'll see. But this match is definitely going to be another one that you're going to see at a lot of the Pro Quests that you attend. Icelander, of course, Hamilton winning Worlds with it, going to be very popular. And Dash winning a lot of the more recent events, also going to be very popular, especially with those bonuses from Dynasty. So I think we're going to take a little break now, and when we get back, we will be coming at you with the Brodie Spurlock, Travis McDaniel, Icelander versus Dash match in just a few minutes.
Yep, and And we are back. Welcome back to Saturday Night Slaughter. You are watching the Fab Team Cup semifinals. We are down to the top four, which of what was 32 teams from all over the world. This Team Cup started several weeks ago and was it featured 32 teams across the world. Andy, you are very familiar with a lot of them. Came in from the Hyperloops, a very prominent team in the TCG space. We have a huge number of those teams that have been competing for several weeks. Coming down to they first did a round robin style 3 week Swiss round where the top seeded of each pool, 32 teams, 8 pools, 4 teams per pool. The top 2 of each pool went on to the top 16 elimination rounds. So we did the top 16, then it went down to a top 8, and now we're at a top 4 semifinals. This is narrowing down to the finals. So we have 4 teams here: the Team Gold, Team Blue Pitch, the Indy Arsenal, and Team Runaways, 2 of which are from Hong Kong. Indy Arsenal is presumably from Indy, and Runaways based mainly out of New Jersey, I believe. But those 4 teams are now competing for a shot at the grand finals, the championship round, which will be next week. And the winners of that get all sorts of prestige and glory. They get all sorts prize support by Fab Foundry, booster boxes, and of course a very sweet playmat. Is it possible, production truck, to throw up the sweet playmat that comes with it? And there it is, the inaugural tournament here, presented by Fab Foundry. But that is,
you did correct the spelling over there on the playmat that's going to be printed for the players. So I don't think any of them are actually going to be facing you with that inaugural playmat.
No, no. It was caught last night when it was debuted. Someone found it with Travis from Fab Foundry did catch it, acknowledge it, and fix it. But it is still funny to kind of look at there. So that is where, to make a short story long, this is how we got to here tonight, where we are live streaming. We are live streaming some recorded matches, giving live commentary behind them, and we mentioned that Fab Foundry is providing the support. They're sponsoring the whole tournament. This is the Fab Foundry's tournament. Be sure to go to fabfoundry.co and use the code TEAMCUP10 to get 10% off single purchases of Flesh and Blood cards between now and the end of the tournament, which is coming. It's now sooner than later. We're coming to the end here. So Team Cup 10 singles purchases, fabfoundry.co. Go get your cards over there. All right, Andy, we are about to fire off the next match here, the co-main event of the evening. We have Brodie Spurlock of the Runaways versus Travis McDaniel of Indy Arsenal in Icelander versus Dash matchup.
Yeah, Brodie Spurlock, a name that definitely has been showing up a lot more over the past few months. It seems like every time there's a battle hardened in the United States, Brodie's name is up there in the top 8. And he's been doing, very good and performing at these events. I'm told that he ended up joining up with the Hyperloops, and then with that segment of them that ran away with all these other tournaments, the Runaways. So over here, he'll be representing that team, and up against Travis McDaniel, who, Pat, I'm told you're very familiar with.
Yeah, he is an embedded, very good Flesh and Blood player. He has a lot of connections with Sunflower Samurai. Pablo Pintor is a very good testing partner of those guys. He's obviously in with Michael Hamilton's group as well. He does really well, is featured a lot on stream. You have seen him if you've done the Realm Games Fall Brawl. You've seen him there. You've seen him, I believe, in the Calling Indianapolis last year. I believe early in the early rounds of Pro Tour New Jersey. But he always finds his way on camera, does very well, has come on to the podcast. It was one of the kind of the OG Phi builders to really kind of nail it, and kind of his iteration of Phi is what started taking off before Zoomers started zooming. But his iteration has kind of endured throughout the bands as well. But he is a very good player, a game opponent, and is sure to give Brody a handful here tonight. Let's cut to the match right now.
All right, so over here we're gonna have Brody Spurlock on the right, Diamondback playing Icelander, and we're gonna have Travis McDaniel, I Fight Dragons over there with Dash.
Yeah, a very interesting matchup. We've seen this. I've seen this a handful of times. I think the most prominent version that we have seen, and I believe there's a little technical difficulty happening here. That's all right. But most recently, you may have seen this if you follow prestigious online tournaments. You may have known about the Goliath Gauntlet and seen Yuki Lee Bender versus Matt Rogers in this same kind of matchup here. It does seem like Icelander, no matter what the opponent, has just a method that happens here where it does seem like Icelander takes a few punches, gets the board stabilized, and then just punishes here. What does Dash have to do against Icelander to avoid the same fate as seemingly all other heroes here?
Yeah, so Dash tends to play more aggressively into Icelander. It's not really looking to stall out and build up a bunch of items as much. It wants to put on some pressure, prevent Icelander from, take that 36 health down to 0 as fast as possible, usually in a very aggressive way. Icelander, on the other hand, wants to do what Icelander does, and that's disrupt Dash. The big difference, I think, between Dash and, say, Phi is that not many of Dash's cards will have natural go again, so Hypothermia poses extra special disruption. Now, one thing I noticed right away is Dash's ability lets her start with an item costing 2 or less on the field, a mechanologist item. Looks like Travis has neglected to put one of those items on the field. So I think that's a missed trigger, basically. This is going to be running with that handicapped almost. We'll see if he's going to be able to overcome without that.
That is a very interesting point. And we see here the initial T-bone with the boost and a Teclo Pounder goes. If you were to have, I'm very interested in that. But I guess as the Dash player, what is the item that you would likely play into Icelander?
There are a few ways that people have been building Dash. Lately, I've been seeing a lot of this hyperdriver build. They run like 72 cards, they put out a hyperdriver, they boost all the time, and they just try and overwhelm their opponent before they get decked out. There's also the possibility of running that Teclo Pounder that you see banished over there as the way to boost the beginning few cards of your with +2, really make the damage roll. But also a lot of Dash's advantage is that however many resources she has, she can use. She can store steam counters on items, whether or not she's able to fire them just with the leftovers to try to get as much efficiency as possible. So I've seen Dashes also run that induction chamber into Icelanders. It really depends on how exactly the Dash player is building the deck and what particular strategy they want to employ into this match.
And we see now the T-bone staying out. It does look like Icelander is looking to make a decision here on blocks. Those cursors are going back and forth. It does look like they acknowledged the missing item there. I wonder if there will be some action taking place, and perhaps we will see an item in the very near future. But
Yeah, looks
in
like
the meantime, a Blizzard coming in again. The Frostbite token onto Dash's board, but Blizzard an instant ping to or losing the go again that was gained by the boost. It does look like a blue T-bone is pitched for that to pay the cost. T-bone does come in for the hit for 1, and we see a second pitch, a red pitch it does looks like a red pitch just to filter through, get the frostbite, and clear the pistol out. And does look like Travis is ending his turn with the steam counter.
Yeah, Icelander doing what Icelander does, taking what could potentially be a multi-attack turn and reducing it down to just that one T-bone.
And we see here Brody starting off things with a Scar for Scar. He's at 35, so the Scar for Scar does have Go Again. So coming in for 4 Go Again. Playing the Scar for Scar to open up things.
Mhm. Yeah, a pretty classic way to start the move. Icelander begins at less health, so all of these abilities start out in effect. That Go Again is right there, and she's following it up with that Enlightened Strike. So big damage coming in, 4+7 for 3 cards, a pretty decent value for one turn.
Yep, and Dash putting the red T-bone in front of the Scar for the 3 blocks, letting one leak through here. The E-Strike coming in for 7. Travis looking like he's going to block for 6, taking 1 down to 38. And that'll close the chain. Brody Arsenals passes and goes to Travis, who now has a 1 card hand with a card in Arsenal. It is a 0 to 64 with boost. Does not look like he's choosing to boost, though.
Yep, look, no card going into the banish zone. This is just a 0 for 4. A nice, efficient way to use the rest of the cards in your hand. But he's not leaving any pitch if Brody were to swing some arcane damage at him. He's got the arcane barrier, but that's potentially gonna hurt him. We'll see what Brody has in the set arsenal, though.
Bindel's Fighting Spirit coming in for blocking for 2, gaining a life, netting, losing only 1 life net after that. Brody taking advantage of that lower life and getting as much value as possible, it seems. We do see the Ice Amulet followed by the Insidious Chill coming in, and then simply an Arsenal and pass. Brody drawing up.
Yeah, it looks like that ice
Brody
amulet
having
got
a
roped
little.
over to the bottom.
There it is. Yep,
Tabletop
there it is. I
simulator.
was like, whoa, what's going on? But yeah, Brody satisfied to set up his board, draw up, and wait for Travis to hit back in order to respond on his turn. Let's see what Travis does here.
Yeah, for Icelander, that's really the way you want to start the game. Get these high disruption permanents on the board so that you have them when you need them.
And here we see the high speed impact red coming in for 4. There is an on hit. If I recall, it is a dominate, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, on hit dominate if the high speed impact for the next attack. Though usually as the Icelander, you're not too worried about that dominate because you may not be blocking with more than 1 card on the next one anyway. Still though, Brody choosing to take some damage there, that on hit is going to fire. And so whatever Travis plays next is going to be dominated. Travis looks like he's debating using that Achilles Accelerator. Yeah, so that's going to give him a whole nother action point right there.
Interesting. So he didn't boost from it. Or did he?
Yeah, he boosted.
He did use the boost because the Achilles Accelerator is a thing. And here we have the Tome of Findel. I feel like a fairly recent addition to Dash lists, but the Achilles Accelerator allowing the Tome to come in at instant speed seems to be a super popular thing to do these days.
Yeah, it's basically a more useful version of the Mage Master's boots into Tome of Fandel strategy. Achilles Accelerator, it has the Arcane Barrier, and it can do without the Tome. Over here, we're seeing another high-speed impact coming in. This one, I believe, is going to be dominated, unless that's a combat chain ability, in which case the combat chain would have already closed. But it's still going to be coming in as a 1 for 5, and Brody's going to have to decide how much he wants to block versus really setting up for that next turn.
Dash turning what could have been a medium turn into a pretty crazy turn, as dashes are wont to do. The Teklo Foundry activation allowing some resources to be gained. We see back-to-back high-speed impacts. Just a lot of things happening here. And I suppose both the Achilles and the Tome were done at instant speed, I believe. Or am I just making that up? Should the second or the first high-speed impact should be technically off the board?
Yeah, I don't think that the Achilles Accelerator is it's not quite Spellbound Creepers. It doesn't let you play things at instant speed, but it does give you. Yeah. Over here, though, we have a new card from Dynasty, probably the best new dash card around, that Pulse Wave Harpoon, basically requiring Brody to show his hand, and then for each card boosted on the combat chain, if there's a defense card lower than that, Travis gets to say, you must block with this. And over here, it looks like he is going to force Brody to block with that Insidious Chill, taking it into the combat chain on this chain link, so he can't play that next turn if he wanted to.
Yep, and the pulse wave with the third boost, and now we see a back-to-back pulse wave harpoons. So the 3-block being forced to come in anyways and still leaking 1 damage. Brody's hand is empty.
Yeah, nothing gonna come from Brody on Brody's turn here. Travis up 42 to 29, so a pretty significant life lead, despite having started the game without that item on the board.
Yeah, that's definitely a question that we're gonna look for some answers after this game is over for sure. But a pretty commanding life total lead. You know, if you can't get that lead by whittling Icelander down, getting higher than it with something like a Tome of Findel is definitely one way to make sure you're in a good spot.
Over here we got a 0 to 60. This looks like a blue one coming in boosted from Travis.
Yep, 0 to 60 boosted. Just the blue though, so not a lot, but you know, sometimes it's more about the boost than the damage here. The boost turns on the Teklo Foundry, which is very important to the overall Dash's game plan here. Brody choosing to take the damage for following up with a T-Bone. That is being boosted. A Spark of Genius goes into the bin, so forcing an equipment block. See, the Storm Striders being used in this instant. I believe the Storm Striders is a 0 block without any temper or battle worn to it. I am not a wizard player. I haven't seen one in a hot second. But we do see
blocking with Storm Striders, it's not going to go away at all. Though the magnetic shockwave, I believe this is, does basically have the opportunity to pull even more cards from Brody that he might not want to put in front of it.
That's right. The magnetic shockwave, Crucible Majestic that I don't know if it sees a ton of play, but here it is now, and it as you were saying, it will pull some more. I believe that does bring more equipment onto the chain link here to force a block. Dash just forcing cards out of hands and equipment slots left and right to really disrupt opponents' game plans.
Yeah, I think I've seen it a lot more in the recent lists. The text on the card reads, the defending hero must defend Magnetic Shockwave with X equipment they control, where X is the number of times you've boosted this combat chain. So right now, we've seen a boost on 0 to 60, we've seen a boost on T-Bone, and we've seen a boost, well, Magnetic Shockwave itself doesn't boost. So that's 2 boosts, which I believe means that Brody's going to have to give up 2 of his equipment here.
And that can be pretty costly here. Between the tunic, you know, I think it would be all right for him to lose the Ironhide. Perhaps he pitches towards that, depending on what he has in his arsenal. He might be able to use the resource out of it. But losing both the Coronet, either the Coronet Peak or the tunic, has to sting for Icelander. It does look like they will lose at least one of them.
Brody taking his time, really figuring out what does he want to do, how much does he want to block. The Coronet Peak, very useful in providing some disruption, maybe not as useful against a dash where they can really use their resources very freely on the equipment and the items in general, but being able to potentially use it to extend the length of a channel like Frigid later on, that'll be something that Brody will lose if he's forced to block with it this early in the game.
And Brody, deep in the tank, curious to see if he's looking for anything, perhaps to use the tunic resource before he has to eat it. But it does look like he's simply just going to throw the pieces of equipment at it, add a block in with the.
Yeah, looks like he's using the tunic to pay for the Ironhide gauntlets, preventing all the damage here. With that frosting as the remainder of the block.
Frosting.
But losing Tunic a very effective card, a very useful card. Maybe not as useful in Icelander. She doesn't always have the best use for that last resource. But over here, we've got an Aether Ice Vein coming in fused with a Blizzard.
That does look like a red one, so it'll be coming in for 5. Achilles Accelerator is gone. The Visiatronic model in the Null Rune does still provide Arcane Barrier 3. So Dash more equipped than most for arcane damage from wizards of all kinds here, but still looking like the hit will come through. So he still has a decision about how to deal with it and what card to give up.
Yeah, only so many heroes or classes have an Arcane Barrier 2 equipment, Mechanologist being one of them. You see that Visiatronic model showing up right now is basically a sideboard card all the time, given the prevalence of wizards. Travis pitching blue to prevent 3, it looks like, taking 2 damage here, and he'll have to discard or whatever. Or is he just
Yeah, it does look like he's screwing around a little bit with his resources. It did look like a 2. There was a 1 float, and there's the other. It looks like he's going to pitch a second tome of Findels to pay 2.
mhm.
I believe he would still have a resource if that is relevant.
Yeah, and Brody pitching that Blizzard for the Waning Moon, even more damage, and the set card is now still unknown for all of us.
Yeah, but a solid turn from Brody, getting the arcane damage through and stripping Travis of his cards. And Travis, we see here with the Spark of Genius, looks like they'll finally get an item onto the board, and
Ooh.
there it is, the Teklo Core coming out with 2 steam counters on it. Teklo
Yeah.
Core Blue Majestic that gives resources at the beginning of turn when you remove a steam counter.
Yeah, those resources are probably going to be very key, especially as Brody throws out another Aether Ice Vein. Going to be ripping more cards, both from the Insidious Chill and the Aether Ice Vein's ability itself. So, those 2 resources will probably let Travis play some actual damaging attacks next turn, as opposed to what we saw last turn with just trying to set up a bit more.
Do you think it might have been deliberate, that there was just such a galaxy brain play that didn't want to waste the Teklo Core by having it open, and so they kept it in the deck with no items, with the chance that he would get to take more advantage of the resources later by not playing an item to begin the game?
Well, we did see him boost the Teklo Pounder as his first boost, so that on the board, I think, might have been a bit better than that in the Banish Zone. Though I am not Travis, I am not the expert Dash player. I'm sure he was thinking 2 or 3 levels ahead of me if that was a deliberate decision.
Oh, Travis, we'll be asking that question of you once we wrap up here. The DM is coming, but we do see we see more Ice Vein and Waning Moon coming from Brody here.
Yeah, so Icelander doing what Icelander does. They tried to present the damage and the disruption, trying to stop Dash from getting as much of that aggression as she can. Already, Travis forced to get rid of 2 cards from hand thanks to Aether Ice Vein. He'll have 2 resources coming in from the Teklo Core, and then the 2 cards and the Arsenal card. There should be some more aggression coming in for sure than what we just saw with that Spark of Genius turn. Will he be able to take tempo back? We'll find out as soon as Brody figures out what goes in Arsenal.
Dash does have some incredibly dangerous small hands, the 2 and 3 card hands. Looking right here with the Teklo Core and the Teklo Foundry, if he's going to open with 2 resources, and if he just has a boost card, he's going to have 4 resources for basically nothing. And very easy to find a way to spend those as the game continues. If he just has a T-bone with a couple throttles, this hand is already ridiculous.
Yeah, looks like actually not going to be that aggressive of a turn. Just playing that Plasma Purifier.
Yep, we see the plasma purifier coming in, taking on the board, and that is it. The Techlo core losing the counter, getting the resources. The purifier comes in. No other actions taken by Travis. It does look like seeing if perhaps the card draw was a little hasty, and Brody might have something to say before priority passes for for real here. But it does look like it is his turn with the red. Another red Aether Ice Vein with a fuse. The Insidious Chill putting in some work. We'll see if that Amulet of Ice also gets cracked to really strip Travis of their hand here. But another 5 Arcane coming with a definitive card disruption as well.
Yeah, I think that's 3 red Aether Ice Veins in a row. So if you're trying to put some pressure on, this is the way to do it. You can't run more than 3 though, so we won't be seeing any more of those. Though Brody might be running some yellow ones still. Travis choosing to discard a Throttle and pitch a Throttle for the Insidious Chill and Aether Ice Vein, respectively. And it looks like he's stopping as much damage as he can.
Yeah, those we talked about the life totals being important. Started at 42, and now is at 27. And in that time frame, Brody, I believe, when he was at 42, was at 30, 30-ish. Now only have lost 4 points in that time frame. So it does look like Brody is getting into the driver's seat here and taking over the game.
Yeah, usually I don't know, the Dash player expects to be able to use the Techno Core turns for a lot of great aggression. We didn't end up seeing that over the past few turns due to the disruption Brody provided. 2 resources right now, at least. Travis will probably either put them on the Plasma Purifier or just hold them up to defend against whatever Brody's got. And Brody has an Ice Bolt from Arsenal.
Yeah, getting the frostbite token to Travis. Ice Bolt coming in for some arcane damage. Expect to see the waning moon follow up pretty shortly here, but Travis taking it.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like he's representing 2 resources, but maybe did he get rid of a card and it kind of glitched visually?
No, he didn't have the card to pitch. It looks like he just didn't Arcane Barrier prevent a lot, went from 27 down to 21 over that turn with 2 instances of 3 damage. Right now, taking the activating the ability of the item to make the Technoplasma Pistol swing for 3, and then swinging for 3.
Yeah, there's a lot of those moving pieces as steampunk themed things are often meant to do. Loading the steam counters, taking the steam counters off. It is annoyingly complicated here, and we do see the hypothermia coming in from Brody, and that'll do it for his turn where he arsenals and draws. And now Travis has to deal with that with the 5-card hand, which is nice, but the hypothermia, which is not nice.
Yeah, all of Dash's cards basically don't have native go again. So hypothermia prevents boost from giving go again. However, Dash does have a card in High Octane that would provide additional action points. So if Travis happens to have one of those, he can get around the hypothermia turn. We'll see what he actually decides to do. It is a High Octane coming in from Arsenal. So now every time Travis boosts, even though the boost won't provide go again, he'll still get another action point, allowing him to keep doing more and more things.
Andy, of course, with the Babe Ruth impression, calling his shot. The High Octane coming in, and now the Mechanologist card, a Zipper Hit, coming in, as you mentioned, gaining the extra action points, and we'll see if Travis can start to gain some ground back here.
Yeah, 1 for 5 over here. Pretty decent as a red card. Brody having to decide if he's going to block or if he's going to play another card. Blocking over here with a blue Aether Ice Vein, so 2 damage going to leak over.
He did have that. I believe he boosted, got that action point, so he should be able to follow up if he's got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But it
Travis
does look like they Yeah, right there. There's a slight pause here as that is all being considered. But it does look like okay. There we are. So with that action point, the Spark of Genius comes out, and another item is going to be fetched by Travis.
Yeah, Spark of Genius looks like he paid 4 resources, so he'll be able to get a Mechanologist item with cost of 2. This could be another Techlo Core, it could be a Techlo Pounder, could be an Induction Chamber, a Plasma Purifier, all sorts of options showing up here. And I believe because Travis boosted this turn, he's going to be able to then draw a card, which he can stick in his arsenal if he wants. Looks like the players may be having a discussion right now about action points, whether or not he actually can play this. Looks like we'll see how this resolves in just a second.
I believe he could. If he did high octane, the zipper hit with the boost, that should have been enough that gains the action point, I believe, right there.
Yeah, I think the players are debating whether or not there was actually a boost that happened despite hypothermia. I can scroll back on the stream to see that, yeah, he did at least boost that zipper hit from the deck. So the boost did occur even though the go again was not granted.
Instant replay luxury of the 21st century here. Being able to confirm the blue zipper hit is excellent. The cursors are still pointing at each other and not putting cards down. So the conversation's still taking place. We'll see what comes of it. And it does look like Travis is saying, "Hey, here it is."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe Brodie's deciding if he wants to do something in response before that card draw occurs. We'll just have to wait for these players to work this out, and then we will know.
Brodie Spurlock, Team Prodigy, a lot of high-level tournament play here. I did not get the permission to travel as much as he did when I was his age. I wonder how, that goes. I wonder how he gets his homework done on the weekends. We do have chat saying something to note. Since Dash paid 4, he can only grab a 2-cost item. He doesn't get to choose any item. He has to choose the X cost.
So I was wrong when I said Techlo Core. That one costing 0 is no longer an option. Thank you, Wesley.
It does. That specifically restricts him to, I believe, is it the Purifier and the Induction Chamber are the 2-cost items that one would grab?
Or a Techlo Pounder, which we know
Techlo
that he's running at least one of.
Mm-hmm. If you were Travis right now, what would you be looking for?
I think just judging from what I see, Travis has pulled and played the Plasma Purifier. An Induction Chamber on the board would let him potentially swing with the pistol for 3 twice in a turn, something that might be worth doing if he's using his other cards to prevent arcane damage. So I think an Induction Chamber is probably my guess as to what he'd pull. I don't know if a Techlo Pounder is necessarily in line with the strategy that he is employing. But at the same time, I can't be sure what his strategy is due to all the disruption that he's been hit with over the course of this game so far.
And it does look like the players are still kind of locked in conversation here. I cheated that. Chat confessing his sins. Wesley is a serial cheater, constantly using Spark of Genius to get whatever he wanted. He played Magic and would pitch a yellow and get a pounder. I'd never seen a Cosmic card with XX. Aha. Yeah, the double X gets us all the time. I'm also guilty of that. So we do see Brody. So the deadlock has ended. Brody plays a hypothermia from Arsenal to add to the collection of hypothermias Travis has collected. Does look like a frostbite would be gained, but then obviously the turn ends, the frostbite is eliminated, but the Spark of Genius getting the induction chamber, so a little mini Exodia has been assembled over on Travis's board.
Yeah, interesting. Brody deciding he would rather use the hypothermia instead of keeping it in Arsenal just so he could swing with Waning Moon. Brody deciding to just play a Frost Hex in Arsenal on his turn, putting the ball back in Travis's court. Both players 5 cards at their disposal.
We do see both hypothermias being played. I guess is that does it get destroyed at the end of an action phase?
Yeah, it's like a frostbite. It gets destroyed at the end of your turn.
Fair enough. And the blue pitch loading up the steam counters on the items. Travis still has one float, 3 cards in hand, card in arsenal, steam counter on the pistol, chamber, and purifier. And now we are seeing a zipper hit coming in for 5 boost hits with another zipper hit. It looks like a yellow zipper hit from over here. So now Brody has a chance to respond.
Yeah, it looks like a red one on the board and a yellow one in the banish zone, if from what I'm seeing at least. Uh, but yeah,
I concur.
Travis choosing to put the resources, the steam counters on his items before beginning with the boost, maybe an indication that he's worried the boost could miss, or he just wants to make sure that if Brody's, deciding not to give him a frostbite until later, he can at least get those steam counters on the board so that he'll have them for later whenever he needs them.
Now the cursors are back to the showdown here. Looks like Brody's is going over to the board a little bit. They're having that spirited discussion as shaky mouses are wont to do. But the zipper hit still is coming in for 5, and that is real damage that Brody either has to take or decide to block.
Yeah, the life totals right now 18 to 21, very close. The Icelander player, of course, sees this as an advantage because they still have the Spellbound Creepers, but we'll see if the life totals remain this close as we get down into the late game over here. And I guess it all makes sense why Brody decided to use his hypothermia last turn. He has another one he just revealed from Arsenal.
That is a lot of hypothermias. We do see the Fighting Spirit coming in to block, but not eligible for the life gain because he was at higher life, and the aforementioned hypothermia coming in as well.
Yeah, so Travis stuck with all those cards in hand. Good thing for Travis that he loaded up his items earlier.
Brody attacking now on his turn with a Wounded Bull. Life is equal, so no +1 attack value on Wounded Bull. Still 7 for 2, pretty good.
Yeah, Travis blocking with 2 throttles. Pretty good, only taking the 1 damage there and putting him at lower life total. Though I don't think Dash really has anything that'll benefit from being at that lower total.
No, but I think you gotta imagine that even that 1 less turns off so many of those things that Icelander likes to use in order to exploit that turn cycle value. That being one under is probably a strategic advantage going into Icelander.
All right.
Here we
Activating
are.
as a
Yep, go ahead.
Purifier, coming in now with a pistol for 3.
Yeah, pistol for 3, steam counter coming off. It comes off the induction as an attack reaction, so we still have a defense phase to think about here before we know if the pistol's gonna go again.
Yeah, this is one
Of
of
course,
those things that
Brody could respond now and prevent that just on taxing the resources with a frostbite.
Yeah, this is one of those things where Dash really has a lot of flexibility. Right now, they're presenting basically like 6 damage with just the pistol alone. They have 2 cards in hand. If Brody decides to do something, give him a frostbite, deal some arcane damage, Travis can still pitch a card in hand, have another card to reload some steam counters, make the pistol go again. Or if Brody doesn't present any disruption, Travis could potentially use the pistol after boosting an attack. We don't know what he has in Arsenal. He still has 2 cards in hand, presumably, that he could use for the most effect possible, depending on how much disruption Brody presents.
Brody does look like he is deep in thought here in the tank. Travis down 1 life point. Brody has looked at his arsenal a couple times now before thinking about or making the decision here to take or block the 3 damage that is coming at him via the pistol.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like he's about to grab something. Channel Lake Frigid comes in for the block. Reaction, we do see the induction chamber loses team counter, gaining the pistol gaining go again.
Yeah, I think Brody pointing out he has to pitch a resource to use the induction or no, that's not played Channel Lake Frigid. That's blocked. My
Yep, that
apologies.
is, yep, just not being able to use the Channel Lake Frigid as he would like. But we do see now a second induction chamber enter the arena. So now we're looking at, I believe that is 9 potential damage from the pistol with all the counters loaded up. The counters are not currently loaded up. He still does need to pitch a blue at least to get all the counters on there. But once they are, the pistol should be able to attack 4-3 3 times.
Yeah, pitching 2 blues and dealing 9 damage. That sounds like pretty good value to me. 2 for 9.
It does to me too. That's almost Levia type value going on there. Just in case you stumble on an endless maw. Shout out to Tommy Fresh and the Buds Discord, by the way. Levia lover over there. Fighting Spirit coming in from Brody. Again, that one life advantage. Fighting Spirit he's not able to gain his life from it. So just coming in for a good old fashioned 7 with no advantage here.
Yeah, 7 for 2, not as efficient as, say, 9 for 2, but no disruption able to happen here. That's just raw damage. And Travis blocking 5, taking 2, it looks like.
Good blocks. The Foundry's been there for a while. It soaks up a lot of damage here. Has that battle worn, able to block for 3. Still stays on and is going to be generating a lot of value here. And here we see the high octane coming in. A lot of potential here. If I gotta imagine if Brody has the tools to stop a pretty massive turn, now's the time.
Yeah, we'll see what that set card is. Maybe it's something with the potential of getting a frostbite, or maybe it's something that'll allow Brody to activate those Amulet of Ice and cause Travis to have to use those cards from hand for something other than putting on the damage. First card coming in, though, a 0 for 60, looks like a red one, and it is boosted successfully. So another action point, and this will have go again.
Yeah, Travis not facing a lot of what we would classically think as, Icelander disruption, able to gain action points, play cards here. He's got the items on the board. He still needs to load them up, but is able to play this card without interference and have those resources floating now. Where he's going to be able to use them at some point, but it does not seem like Brody is specifically targeting a taxing environment here for Dash.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Brody has. High Octane, very useful for Dash when they have the ability to boost their pistol's damage, because if they want to play Mechanologist attacks with boost, they can have those get go again, accumulating action points, and then just keep swinging the pistol whether or not they want to use an induction chamber to give the pistol go again.
Yes, and it does look like Brody is back in the tank, thinking about that damage. Seem to be making it a habit now of taking a good hard look about that. Each card as it comes down, and really putting a lot of thought into what or if anything to put in front of it.
Yeah, this game, all of these Team League games are untimed technically, so the players can really sit through, do the math, try and figure out exactly how much value they're expecting, how much value they want to present. If I had to remember, I think this game might go on for a little bit more than the normal 50-minute time limit. Thank all of you viewers for watching this intense action as we see. Yeah. Oh, and I'm told that because this is elimination, it would be untimed anyway. Top 8, this is basically the semifinals, a best 3 of 5 for each of the 2 teams against the other 2 teams. Hopefully at the end of today or early tomorrow, we'll be able to update all of you with which 2 teams make it to the finals of the Team Cup.
And this is our co-main event of the evening. It is the semifinals, week 6 of the Fab Team Cup Saturday Night Slaughter, brought to you by Fab Foundry. Go to fabfoundry.co and use the promo code TeamCup10 when buying your singles. Get 10% off that purchase. That goes to help the prize support for the tournament that you are watching right now. So that promotion goes through the end of the tournament, and we are coming towards that very soon here. This week is the semifinals, which means next week is the finals. Only 2 teams will remain and duke it out, a best 3 out of 5 to determine who is very clearly the best team in the world. No argument to be made. No other medium matters here except what happens in the Fab Team Cup. And we do see a sink below coming in for the full block here. The 0 to 60 coming in for 4.
Yeah, Sink Below used very efficiently. Travis activating the Teklo Foundry Heart, but only hitting one Mechanologist card, the other one being one of those Tome of Yendals. So not actually gaining the additional resource he was planning on getting there. Normally, it's a 1 for 2 resources. This time, not so much. Presumably, those 3 3 Tome of Yendals were the only non-Mechanologist attacks in the deck, so we'll see. Coming in now with the pistol, swinging for 2.
Yeah, no steam counters here, so he would have to. He's got to commit some cards in order to turn Exodia back on here. And he is. Oh, because he did have the action point. I was gonna say, what am I missing here? But he did have the action point from the high octane. So we're now coming in with a zipper hit for 5. No boost, unless I missed something.
Yep, nope. Zipper hit for 5, no boost. I think just ready to end the turn with a bit more damage. Brody throwing out a second Sink Below, so really getting his defense on. The life totals right now even at 15-15. Brody going to start his turn with a card in arsenal and 2 in hand.
Ooh, all right. Ooh, here we go. There's a Wounded Bull coming in for 4-7. Not getting the boost because life totals are equal, and also pitching the Heart of Findel, not gaining the life because life totals are equal. We talk about Flesh and Blood being this game of incremental value over time. Brody unable to gain 2 life here, or a 2 life value between the extra damage and extra life. This late in the game seems very important.
Yeah, every point counts. At the same time, being able to, if he wasn't able to be just 1 point below, being 2 points below, you're at less life and you get equal value. So I think blocking might have still been the preferred option over here. Travis looks like he's starting his turn by putting some steam counters on his items, pitching that Teklo Core Blue to get 1 on everything.
Yeah, Exodia is assembled. We see the Purifier steam counter removed, getting the +1 effect to the pistol. Pistol coming in now for 3, and it does look like he's just able to react unimpeded to gain the go again. Another blue pitch coming in, loading some more steam counters on the pistol. Yep, the steam counter pistol being loaded. Pistol coming in again for another 3. Travis at 15, Brody at 12. There's still another steam counter on the second induction chamber, potentially being able to attack 1 more time.
Yeah, so the pistol can get go again if Travis so wants. Brody choosing not to block that first one, still has all the cards available to him. Blocking the second one with the blue frosting, that'll be a full block, and Travis giving the pistol go again, yet again.
Yeah, and the ice card coming in to block, but that's as he called it, the set card from Arsenal not coming out for the for any kind of action, and not generating a frostbite token that could potentially stop some of Travis's momentum here.
Yeah, generating a frostbite in response to putting the counter on that plasma purifier would have stopped these 3 damage. Brody deciding not to do that, just to take these 3, going into his turn now with the 1 card in arsenal and the 4 cards in hand. With the 2 amulet devices on the board, you got to think Brody's going to try and do something extra effective, and he's starting with a Scar for Scar that will have Go Again for 4, Go Again, pitch and 0.
Yeah, the 4 Go Again, a 3 block. Travis taking 1 down to 14. Here's the Arsenal card. It is in red. Is that a red? It should be a yellow, I believe. Aether Ice Vein with the fuse. We see Insidious Chill for the pitch and Aether Hail on the reveal. So the Ice Vein coming in for 4. Travis would be able to block 3 of it potentially. I believe the Visiatronic is an Arcane Barrier too. But it does look like he discarded a card in response there, so perhaps only taking the one art AB1 and choosing to discard instead of paying 2.
Yeah, looks like with the Amulet of Ice being pitched or being activated, Travis is going to have nothing for his turn. Brody coming back with a full grip. Unless that's a 0-cost card in Travis's arsenal, his next turn is going to be pretty bleak, and he won't have any resources to prevent arcane damage from that revealed Aether Hail that Brody might just swing with right now.
And we see the Blizzard come in, and there is the Aether Hail and the Waning Moon coming in response.
Yep, 5 damage on Travis's turn, and Travis can't do a thing to stop it.
Oh, so he does take all of it, goes down to 8, and you're right, I missed that Amulet of Ice initially, so he discarded to that effect before having to deal with the Ice Vein effect. And now we see Brody coming in with the Wounded Bull for another 7, pitching a blue brother in arm. The 6 of it being blocked down to 7. Travis, that turn there with the Ice Vein and the Amulet of Ice is exactly what we've been talking about with Icelander kind of doing what it needed to do to strip its opponent's hand and really take tempo away. And it does look like Brody is now in the driver's seat late here on FTC Saturday Night Slaughter. We do have the Indy Arsenal versus Runaways. Brodie Spurlock on the right, Travis McDaniel on the left. Brody on Icelander, Travis on Dash, and you can see the life totals right there. Icelander's at 9, Dash is at 7, and Dash started this game with a Tome of Findel that brought him up to 42 life, and boy, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Certainly a life total ago, almost, down at 7 right now. Right now with 7 life, though, Dash, Travis is in the danger zone. If he ends up pitching both of those cards in his hand to activate cards to fill up his items, he is within the range where Brody could play, say, an Emeritus Scolding from Arsenal and then his Waning Moon for 7 damage in the turn. And that's not even looking at those Stormstriders and whatever other damaging cards Brody might have in hand. Travis really thinking, is it worth playing the cards in his hand, or does he need to keep them to stay alive? Does he have to play to win or not to lose?
Yeah, those are important decisions. Travis indeed on the highway to the danger zone. I'm sure this is exactly what Kenny Loggins had in mind when writing the song as well. But as catchy as it is and as appealing as beach volleyball after a hard day on the Air Force Base is, it does look like Brody is, in that commanding lead. Travis only has so many cards left in hand. He's pitching the blue to load the steam counter on the pistol. The cursor is angrily pointing at Brody with the 2 resources floating. I believe he's giving him the opportunity, allowing priority to pass here, as it were, before continuing. And there's the steam counter on the induction chamber, 1 float. Now we see the plasma purifier being activated and a firing of the pistol for 3.
Yeah, Travis really being as efficient as possible, keeping his resources, he didn't need to load both of his induction chambers right away. If Brody swings with arcane damage, he can use that last resource if he needs to save himself. Or if Brody doesn't have that arcane damage right now, he can use that resource to fill up the induction chamber after the pistol's done swinging.
And Brody choosing to take the 3, and in the reaction step, the induction chamber's steam counter is removed, giving the pistol go again. It does look like that. I'm assuming the shaky cursor is an offering of priority. Before continuing on here, there is one resource float, 1 card in hand for Travis. The pistol still out in front on the board. Brody does have an opportunity here to do something.
Yeah, Travis right now has currently 4 resources that he can use in Arcane Barrier if necessary, 7 life. If Travis wanted a little bit of assurance, he might be able to activate his Foundry Heart to get another resource, but then who knows what Brody might do in response to that. So really everything, you're walking on wires here, basically, against the Icelander at this low of a life total, trying to do exactly as much as you can to present some pressure while also trying not to get killed in the process.
I hear the catchy guitar riffs in my head as we speak. It does look like Travis is in a tough spot here, and a red throttle coming in though. That is a spicy one. The 6 go again for 2, or actually potential with go again. No boost here, and there it is. The Emerald Scolding coming in at instant speed. That is for 4. And the Waning Moon for an additional 3, 2 floating. Ding 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 ding. And the second Emeritus Scolding to seal the deal here. Brodie Spurlock takes it over Travis McDaniels with a double Emeritus Scolding Waning Moon turn to end the game. GG's, Brodie Spurlock.
Yeah, this is the second win for Team Runaway against Indy Arsenal that we've seen in as many days. Yesterday, Dan Rutkowski beating Michael Hamilton. Today, Brodie Spurlock beating Travis McDaniel. And that's how Icelander wants to end the game, right? The life totals were close, and he just did exactly what he needed to do to get the arcane damage when Travis wasn't able to stop it at instant speed with his boots. So a great game for both players. Maybe things would have been different if Travis started out with that item in play, as Dash would have allowed, but I think he definitely did a very good job catching up from that initial handicap.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it is one of those situations where he is basically forced to present something and kind of overextend, and Travis was in that position where he only had so many things to do no matter what else no matter what else was happening. He was in a pretty rough spot, and I think he knew that, and that was going out on the shield moment. I think he was at a high enough total where Brody still needed to have those. He needed all the things, he just had them. Brody tends to do that over time. He seems to have the tools when he needs them, and he wins a lot of games here, not just here but all over the world. But you are here on FTC Saturday Night, brought to you by Fab Foundry Saturday Night Slaughter.
Yeah, our next game coming up, it's going to be Kelvin Law from Team Gold versus Pudding Tam from Team Blue Pitch. But first, we're just going to take a quick break before we get back to you with that final main event game of the night.
We will be right back.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to Saturday Night Slaughter on the Flesh and Blood Team Cup channel. Pat and Andy had to take off, so I'm Adam Philipchuk, and this is Jesse Valdez with me at Farm Tiller TCG and at Chet McNasty. And how's it going, Jesse?
It's going great, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Dealing with the last minute pivot, but I'm happy to be here. And we've got one more match for you guys tonight still, and a super exciting one. We've got Kelvin Law taking on, my apologies, I don't have any notes because I wasn't anticipating
That's all right.
this. Do you got it, Jesse?
I'll take over for you. Yeah. So in this last match, we have Kelvin Law of Team Gold going against Pudding Tam of Blue Pitch. Both of these players have played a number of games this season, both with winning records. Kelvin Law sitting at 4-1, only losing week 2, and Blue Pitch's Pudding Tam sitting at 3-1, only having lost week 2 as well. We've also seen both these players, at least with Kelvin Law so far, we've only seen play Dash in the league, where Pudding Tam, I believe, has stuck to Dash the last few weeks, but did start this league with Briar. So it'll be interesting to see what they bring out today.
Yeah, 100%. I'm super excited for this match. And what do you say? Are we ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this thing. Ooh,
All right, so here we have.
okay.
Oh, go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so like starting this match, looks like we have a Dash v Dash mirror. So this could actually go a lot of different directions with what Dash currently has. We could see a Pistol Dash on both sides, Hanabi on both sides, maybe even Hanabi on one side. And oh, this is very interesting actually. We can see Induction Chamber on Kelvin Law's side and a Hyperdriver red starting on Pudding Tam side.
So one thing to notice right away is on Tan's side with the hyperdriver and the galvanic bender, he's going to probably try to get the mech going this game.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. It's like, why else would you need to bring in one armor? You're not really defending against much in the way of breakpoints here, other than maybe a combustible courier, because I think that's pretty much the only thing you'd be actively scared of to see.
Yeah, and then on Kelvin Law's side, seeing the Goliath Gauntlet, I'm expecting him to play a lot more aggressively.
Yeah. So Pudding Tam is the one who started out this game here, deciding to go first on that hyperdriver side and choosing just to pass priority in Arsenal. And so moving over to Kelvin's side here, wondering what exactly Kelvin's strategy is going to be into this, because we have two decks that can like really just like try figure out exactly the best approach to dealing damage and dealing damage turn after turn that's going to really just start lowering those life totals and putting both these decks into like those kill ranges we're going to see, where they're going to be throwing out multiple zipper hits, the 2-cost one that comes in for 6 throttle. So we'll see what exactly Kelvin is deciding here.
Yeah, one thing to be mindful though is Kelvin didn't go with Teclo Pounder. He did still use Induction Chamber as a starting item, and that suggests that even though he's going to play more aggressively here, and even with the Goliath Gauntlet activation right away coming out of the gate swinging, he still wants to be able to play some sort of a long game.
Yeah, and I actually like the idea of cracking Goliath Gauntlet early, especially in a matchup like this where it's going to be so back and forth. Who can actually deal the most damage every turn cycle it's what's really going to put one of these players over the top of the other. And so coming in for an 8 damage, the very first swing, choosing to boost, we got a yellow zipper hit. So we're going to have go again off this 8 here. And will we see an attack past this one, or maybe just a loading of induction chambers and taking our shots with Teclo here?
Yeah, with this play, Kelvin is looking to pressure while still keeping, some information back. Really keeping Pudding guessing still.
We see on the Pudding Tam side here, going for a full block of 8. Maybe in some instances, that wouldn't be the most ideal way to go about playing here. But when we can already identify a construct mechanoid strategy, like really just stopping as much damage turn after turn, as we can see, trying to build to those hyperdrivers is exactly what we're gonna the Pudding's game plan is gonna be here.
Yeah.
So really stopping that damage is huge.
What's interesting is Pudding did still, like, if Pudding was really looking to play, like, well, it's going to be I haven't seen the mech get played a whole lot, so it's going to be interesting to see how quickly Pudding's able to get everything he needs to get together for it. He did opt to still take 4 damage on Kelvin's turn and come in with a 0-60 of his own, so he wants to pressure back to some extent. So I guess both players on somewhat of a mid-range strategy. I think Kelvin Law is still the aggressor here, though. He is beat down currently in this game.
Oh, absolutely. And the Construct Mechanoid strategy has a very interesting way that you have to approach it, because if Pudding wants to actually be coming in with multiple attacks every turn, he's going to need to be boosting, right? And to boost any card is going to take a counter off that hyperdriver, and we're going to need 3 of those to construct our Mechanoid whenever we get there. So if he's trying to play through all of these and he ends up losing a hyperdriver or 2 in the process, it's really going to slow down that strategy completely. It might even put a dead stop to it. Ooh,
So
and we see here on Pudding's side, the high octane. No, this is coming from Kelvin here, playing the high octane, now coming in with a yellow zipper hit for 4, choosing to boost. So he's netting the go again action point at the end of this attack here, and the action point that the high octane is going to give them.
Yeah, and this is where the pistol is so crucial, because the pistol doesn't have a once per turn action. It's just as many times as you can fire it. So high octane players like to play to a big turn where they're stack up their action points and just fire the pistol a whole bunch.
Yep. Oh, and what we see here is actually opting to go for a Stroke of Genius play.
Spark of
paying
Genius.
0 into it, getting that Teklo core. Still floating an action point here, and it's going to draw the card off that Stroke of Genius.
Yeah, Spark of Genius on a high octane turn is so oppressive, because it replaces itself, it puts an item on the board, and you can just keep trucking along. And I wonder if he's even got a Tome of Findel in Arsenal.
That would be insane. Maybe we'd want to see more action points.
Yeah, he's got to
want to do that, but
he's got to boost still first. But if he's got it, we could be in for a huge turn here.
And he does still have the Achilles Accelerator up. So there
the Tome
it
of
is.
Findel from hand. He must not
maybe
have found
trying to
what
just
he needed.
see. Yeah, maybe right here we're just trying to see like if their turn can be a bit wider. Oh, and that's exactly what it is. Breaking the Achilles here to get that action point back. We still have high octane on the table, so depending on how much boost we have in hand, we could see anywhere between 8 and 12 damage get presented, with potentially like 2 more pistol shots along with it. Ooh, making everything nice and beautiful on the screen here. We still have that 1 action point from Achilles left to be used. 4 cards too. 1 Arsenal, 3 hand. There's a lot that can be done here. Ooh, oh, ouch. That hurts. So we see a 0-60 coming out, a yellow one, swinging for 3, boosting a Teklo Pounder. At this point, that might not be an item you really want to be seeing as you're trying to get through your deck and like be throwing these really wide turns, especially if they're trying to build to a Construct Mechanoid turn. But still, like, not a card you want to see get thrown away for no reason.
Yeah, it's definitely seeing the Teklo Pounder get boosted. I'm wondering, is Kelvin Law running BIOS update in this deck, and is he wishing he had played it this turn right now?
But BIOS update is definitely one of those cards. Like it's an amazing mechanologist. It's a mechanologist class type. It gives damage. It can potentially build on top of itself if you're able to boost an item. But it is one of those cards too that when you want to go ultra wide, play maximum velocity turns, like you're really just not going to be getting there if that is your strategy.
Yeah. So we see, is that a blue zipper hit?
I think it's a blue zipper hit, yeah.
So another 3.
3.
And it looks
Okay.
like Kelvin didn't draw. I think what he was hoping to off of his spark and his tome there. For the amount of
I don't know.
cards played here, I think we're coming in a little. Well, I guess we do have a few action points, so we'll be able to get a few pistol shots off here still.
I think that might be a max V.
Oh,
Yep,
there we
out of
go.
Arsenal. Yep. Like, because I was thinking about it, I'm
foot
like,
in
I
mouth.
saw that they moved their, because they broke the chain with playing the tome. They had their first boost before the stroke of genius. Now with the 0 to 60, the zipper hit, and building off that Teklo, it's like, what else are we really hoping for here? Like,
Yeah.
why would you be Tekloing at 2 resources to go to 3 if you only have 2 shots anyway?
Yeah, and max V makes perfect sense. That's the icing on the cake. Exactly what Pudding doesn't want to see right now.
And if we see if Pudding here, let's say, has a hyperdriver in hand, I think at most we're gonna see a 1-card block. And even if they don't, I don't anticipate much more than a 2-card block here because they want to be actively throwing stuff, throwing damage, keeping that footing somewhat equal because they have a lot more to build towards. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, just the 1 block. I think we might see a hyperdriver come out here on this turn, get to the 3 that they need, and then we might even see the construct out of Arsenal the following turn.
That would be something. Because with putting down half his life total and Law still at 38, Pudding's going to
Yeah,
be
and there
something.
it is, hyperdriver.
So
And for those watching, Kaiser did use the Achilles accelerator on their turn, I believe. Oh, there we go. Now they're flipping it. Both players are good enough where they would have been able to identify that before it would have been an issue. But just so we're all aware there.
Yeah. Kelvin getting
Ooh,
off another
Kaiser.
pistol shot here.
Yeah, starting the turn, making the 2 with the Teklo core, loading induction, loading the Teklo plasma pistol, firing for 2. So I can't feasibly see Construct Mechanoid being an Arsenal. Like, I know I said it, but the fact that when they go to draw their next hand, not knowing if there's a hyperdriver in there, I think these players are good enough that they wouldn't want to take that chance, even if they do have a high probability to actually hit that last hyperdriver in that following turn.
Could very well be right. We see the biohost update coming out to block the Teklo plasma pistol here, and go again off the induction chamber. Following it up with a 0 to 60 blue.
Very interesting. And going for that for the boost as well. Only 2 cards in hand. I always get interested to know exactly what is about to happen on the dash side here. When you're throwing 2 damage and still giving up a card for that boost, like, what are we about to see here that's really gonna like push the envelope on that?
Blocking with the
Blocking
pulse wave harpoon. Interesting. Like the fact that Pudding is choosing to block with that just further cements that he is not looking to play any kind of aggressive plan here until he gets that mech up and running.
Yeah, and Pudding set too. They right at this point can only have 1 more turn of boosting because those hyperdrivers are only going to activate once per turn. So boosting a card is going to give them 3 resources right off the bat. But if they go into their next turn and boost again, we just lose 2 hyperdrivers. And we are assuming as commentators here that they're going for a construct mechanoid play. But both of us seeing that Galvanic Bennett, I think, just really cements in that is the game plan right here.
Yeah, and in noticing that Pudding didn't even choose to boost there. Well, I don't think had anything to boost.
Honestly, I don't even know why I'm thinking there could be a world where this isn't construct, because if this wasn't construct, they would have brought in Crown of Providence or something. But you have to have mechanologist items, weapon, and 3 hyperdrivers to get that construct off. It's the only way.
And that was kind of, yeah, exactly.
Ooh, Kelvin shooting up in life here.
Yeah, the high octane coming out, suggesting Kelvin's going to have another huge turn here with another Toma Findel being played.
I'm really liking how I'm seeing dashes kind of revert back to how we were in the original like WTR Arc Crucible meta with the whole Fendel's Atoma Fendel strategy, because I remember that being like a huge thing back in the day. And it seems like it's even cleaner now, because I'm not seeing Tomes of Fendel get banished for boost cost all that much, and they're getting exactly the value they need off it. They're getting it played on high octane turns or along with Achilles Accelerator. Tome of Fendel is just doing major work for so many decks in this current meta.
Yeah, any deck that can generate action points, Toma Findel is a must consider at the least.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got the
So
0 to 60 right now coming in for, I believe that's a red, so for 4.
yep. And yeah, so the 0 to 60 was, yeah, so we've already gone past the 0 to 60, going for the Spark of Genius play here. Again, uh, I don't know what it is, but Kelvin, you are just getting every 0 to 60 lining up with these tomes, or at least the first tome wasn't lined up with the 0 to 6 or the high octane, but these high octane turns with these Stroke of Geniuses are just pushing Kelvin's power just like over the limit, turn after turn here.
Yeah, and then being able to Spark of Genius into another Teklo core just suggests that, yeah, if Pudding can't find the mech soon, Pudding's going to be in a rough spot.
And Stroke of Genius off these high octane turns, they're so huge. Like you're playing a card for free, you're getting another card put back into your hand that could just further, like it could be another red 0 to 60 we see. So you're pushing 4 damage, getting 2 more action points out of it afterwards, and also putting out the Teklo core to build even more resources into these following turns. It's hard to see exactly, like even if we see the construct mechanoid on Pudding's side here, how they're going to really be dealing enough damage to even deal with this snowball effect we're seeing from Kelvin here.
Well, bearing in mind though that the construct is built for the absolute late game win. The fact that it itself can block is a huge boon on it, because it, like, once you get it on the board, you can essentially it becomes your life total in a way. Like it's that shield that's hard to get through. I think it's 5 with temper or something like that. And on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, Kelvin's only got so many
6
resources left.
actually.
Kelvin's been boosting a whole bunch. So if Kelvin can't get the wins, like, Pudding's in trouble to some extent, but if Pudding can outlast just a little bit longer, Kelvin's board's almost gone. Like, Kelvin's going to run out of resources here too.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like on Pudding's side here too. And it's like we can sit here and understand that Construct needs to be played more towards the late game. But right now, what we're seeing is Pudding has almost stopped himself from being able to do much of anything. Because if they want to have any type of wide turn, they have to just fully not block, only have each of those hyperdrivers activate 1 time to not have to get rid of 2 of them. Because we're at a point in the game where if those 2 hyperdrivers break, there is little to no chance that we're going to see another 2 come out and still have that construct be able to get built.
Well, and
There's just too much
to that
damage.
point, Pudding's not going to boost or anything like that. He's not going to risk losing his hyperdrivers, I don't think.
Yeah. I think the
Like,
only time we might see that is if they try for a Spark of Genius play. We could potentially see that, because they do still have 1 turn to work with a boost, because it won't destroy any hyperdrivers here.
that is definitely a possibility. Pudding looking like he's trying to think of what he's going to do with the 0 to 60 right now. Is he going to, I'm assuming whatever those last 2 cards in his hand are, he does want to use them to execute his game plan. So he's mousing over,
Oh,
though. He is going to block.
This is scary. We are at that. We can go for Foundry Heart and play another Max V. We could throw another 10 right here.
Oh, he's going to load the
No.
pistol.
But instead opting to just load, yeah.
So Law must not have the Max V at this point. No, there's a blue. He's got 2 action points left, though, it looks like.
Okay,
Fire off
so
2 more
we saw
times.
that last resource before the throttle was pitched. When they put the dice on the gun, they must have just decided between the two, like, hey, I'm shooting with this. So he ticked down the life, 1 action point left. Probably going to see the gun loaded here. Another shot taken.
Yeah, he's just going to fire off the pistol as many times as he can here.
There does hit this point when you get to a level in this game of Flesh and Blood where both players just understand the game state and what's happening turn after turn, that they don't really need to like have cues as much, because their brain's already wrapped in. It's like, this is what's potentially going to happen. I'm already ready for it. If you do it, more than happy to do that. Let's like skim some time off and just like, we'll cut these corners a little and we'll save some game time over the course of all of this.
Yeah, a lot of shortcutting.
Yeah.
We've certainly been seeing some of that this game. Yeah, Pudding and Kelvin Law are very experienced Flesh and Blood players at this point. I was around for the online crew meta, and Kelvin Law was ripping the online skirmish scene back then. He's, I think, the points leader on lifetime XP. He knows his way around a Flesh and Blood deck.
Ain't that the truth? All right, and ending Kelvin's turn here, putting down to 6. Kelvin at a solid 41 life, 1 above starting. Dropping to 39 here, passing back to Kelvin. There is not much room left, if any at all, for Pudding to really give any agency to Kelvin here, especially if we're going to be seeing like throttle, zipper hits coming in with their red pitches. There is okay, we're seeing the Tech Low shoot for 2, go again off induction with the block of a high speed impact there.
Now, even though Kelvin does have a Tekla core up here, he doesn't have an arsenal. Like, this is only a 4-card hand. If he doesn't have any card draw or a high octane or anything like that, this is still a position of concern for Pudding, but this Pudding might be able to outlast this turn.
Yeah, I could definitely see it lasting this turn. But Kaiser, on the other hand, has a huge advantage running the induction chamber here. We can start every turn cycle by loading pistol, loading induction, shooting 2. And Pudding is just at a level where like taking 2 more damage is a third of their life total. Yeah. So if we're even trying to accept that, we're accepting being that much closer to death. So we're having to throw at 3 blocks just to stop 2 damage to not push us down that far. So since with Kaiser being able to do this turn after turn, limiting Pudding to only 3 cards in hand, no matter what, before even having to actually attack with an attack action, this is huge. Like we're at a point in the game where something big has to happen. I think it's almost where we have to see Pudding hit exactly what they need and Kaiser hit nothing, like just have a complete nothing of a turn.
Yeah. The question here is Kelvin looking to play this last card, or is he going to arsenal? If Kelvin's looking to set up another 5-card hand, which I suspect he is, Pudding, I think it's now or never. Oh, no, we're playing the Pulse Wave of Harpoon. He's going to strip another card out of Pudding's hand anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're at a point in the game where Kaiser can just be like, I know I'm losing 2 cards just to gain 1 resource, which will ultimately only be loading my induction chamber. But at this point, it's like every little bit you can tack on to make that following turn even bigger is going to really push Kaiser over the limit here.
100%.
Yep, and then Pudding having to block with that last card just to save some damage.
It's not looking good for Team Blue pitch right now.
How long has that Arsenal card been inputting side? I swear that has been here for upwards of 8+ turns at this point.
It's as long as I can recall, and that's why I think it is the mech. I think putting Arsenal the first mech he found, and I'm not certain what he's been waiting for with a higher life total. That's the only thing that would make sense to me.
You know, I sit here and I call
Oh,
myself a professional flesh and blood player, and I don't even remember if Construct Mechanoid has a cost associated with it.
that's the thing. That's how little that's how much play it sees, right? Like,
Exactly, yeah. Hmm. All right, so we have a pass back to Kelvin here. Pudding still sitting at 5, Kelvin 39, and with a full 4-card hand, no arsenal, and that induction chamber with the counter on it. I think we're going to see, yep, much of the same here. We're going to load the pistol, shoot the pistol, make it so they have to block with it. They might choose not to block with the card here, but that's pushing that damage like so great at this point. That's 40% of their life if this hits. And yet we do see the block here for 3. Still 4 cards in hand, 1 floating resource. Like I can only imagine how much more damage Kelvin is going to be able to push this turn, so long as they have the right cards, that is.
yeah, and I had a quick look. Nitro Mechanoid is a 4 cost, so you're going to
Ooh.
need 2 cards no matter what to be able to execute it. And it could come down to, because the hyperdrivers themselves don't boost. I think it just comes down to Pudding hasn't had a hand of enough, like a blue and a red, or even 2 yellows, or some combination of cards that he can pitch effectively without just giving up too much of a life total.
Yeah, and knowing now that it costs 4, I unless we see Kelvin just get a handful of items, I just don't
Which,
really see a world where the constructs even be able to be played, even if it is an arsenal, you know?
and I don't think that's going to happen for Kelvin, because Kelvin's got the one induction chamber. I bet you is the only induction chamber he's got in his list, and then he's maybe got 2 Tekla cores and 2 Tekla pounders, 3 possibly. That would be my guess. So
Yeah,
the
and
chance of
having
bricking
seen,
there,
and yeah, we've already seen a pounder get paid for a boost cost. We've seen both Teklo cores already. Uh, it's just really not looking good for putting Tam here. Ooh, choosing to. Oh, they'd already put the counter on to the Galvanic as they were blocking with it. That is why. So we do see a block of 4 here against the combustible. And this is exactly what I said at the beginning of the game. Like, if we see that Galvanic block anything, it's going to be blocking that 4 breakpoint on a combustible
yeah,
courier. Like, that is the only thing you want to be thrown at this.
yeah, because even taking 1 on the courier is being threatened an additional
It's
3.
4. Yeah, like, you take 1, that thing still has swung for 4 over the course of the turn. Ooh, seeing the Teklo Foundry Heart get used here. 2 Mechanologist cards, building ourselves up to 3 resources on Kelvin's side here. Now, 3 resources. We've seen 1 card get boosted so far. We have a Throttle. That's huge. Throttle coming in for 6. Just to survive, they got to throw a card. And that puts them down to 2, leaves them right open to that last pistol shot. So we're going to see a full block here on putting side no matter what.
Yeah, we got in the chat, battle hardened champion Jody Burney commenting, this dash tome list is really impressive. And I'll tell you what, Jody, I actually in Pro Tour Lille, I faced down Joel Repta on a very similar list, and this is of course before Pulse Wave Harpoon, and even then it was oppressive. I knew what I was getting into, and it was still a rough matchup. So yeah, no, this list just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah, and Kelvin opting to throw the 0 to 60 for 2 out, the blue pitch version, coming in for 2, lowering down to 3, and doing that last pistol shot for 2, putting down to 1 here. So no matter what we see, we are threatening lethal here. So if we have things coming in for breakpoints, that's 2 cards no matter what. That pistol is going to be requiring a card no matter what.
And
Yeah,
something to be
these are some yeah.
and something to be mindful here is Pudding does have a lot more items in his deck, so it's also possible that he draws into a hand of no blocks here.
Oh, getting the first block on the pistol. Go again off the induction chamber here. 3 cards in hand. We could easily see 4 attacks stretching, even 3. One of those being a breakpoint, pistol being a 3rd attack. Just continuously taking all the cards out of their hand, being able to end the turn on an arsenal. This is, we could see the comeback of a century, but I don't know. I don't think Dash has enough power to really make that a thing right now. Yeah, we see the double block here against the zipper hit coming in for 5. The double
I'm wondering,
load.
could this be it for Pudding? A Pulse Wave
I
Harpoon, I
believe
think,
it is.
and the Hyperdriver, a no block.
Not being able to block. Oh, very unfortunate for Blue Pitch here. This is their last game, and this being the last game of week 6, we actually have all of the results in, and we have our winners for who will be playing in top 2 for the FTC. Are you all ready?
Let's hear it.
All right. So we have Team Gold sitting at 3-2 over Blue Pitch's 2-3. So Blue Pitch, who were last season's victors, they have been knocked out, and Team Gold is on their way to the finals. And they will be playing against the Runaways, who were able to take it off over Indy Arsenal, the team that has, the world champion in it. But the Runaways just being able to come with a super solid team. I almost want to say they came out of nowhere, but they didn't really. They came out of nowhere as a team, but these players, Yanji, Michael Fang, Dan Ratowski, Brody Spurlock, they have such like a repertoire of just great players that really know what they need to do in this game to win and be just great champions of the game.
Definitely, they've all made a splash on the scene at this point. I think between Brody Spurlock, Dan Rakowski, Michael Fang, who else? I'm like, who else? I should know the entire lineup.
Hey, whoever ends up getting first place in the FTC next week, I'm pretty sure that all the players on those teams are going to become household names at least some point thereafter. Especially on our end, we're going to know all the names because we're going to be shipping out boxes and play mats to these people. It's going to be great.
Yeah, 100%. Jesse, any closing notes tonight before we wrap up for the evening?
Closing comments. I know Andy said it earlier already. There was that misspelling on the playmat that is going to be rectified and will be on the new playmats before they go out to any champions. Next week will be the finals week. As I said before, it'll be Team Gold versus the Runaways. Great set of games this week 6. Each side was like really fighting neck and neck. The winning teams only being able to get 3 wins on each side. So tune in next week. We're going to hopefully talk to the captains, get a time to where maybe we can stream all 5 games back to back, or we're going to slowly bring it out to you all and really just like play up this finals week to see who really is the best team in all of the game, in all of the world.
Yeah. And if you're wondering, because we don't have the time and date set yet, but we are aware that we're still a budding channel, and we have to make sure you guys are aware of the time. So we're gonna, as soon as we figure out, we're gonna blast it on every Discord. We're gonna make sure all over Twitter. We're gonna make sure people know when this finals is going down.
Absolutely. And we'll have some end of season information that'll come out either before these streams or these games will go live or sometime after. We'll have an email going out to all team captains. So if there is any question at all about possibly if there was like a change in who is now leading a team, just make sure to get that email over to myself or any of our OP team. You can message Tyler Broughton. You can message Travis. Fab Foundry. Just make sure any of us know it. Otherwise, we will be going off the email lists we do have into next week. So, yeah, just make sure that you communicate with us, and we will make sure that all the right information gets to you.
Yeah, 100%. But on that note, I think that brings us to the end of our Saturday Night Slaughter broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. A quick reminder that the Fab Team Cup is brought to you by the Fab Foundry. You can use the code TEAMCUP10 on fabfoundry.co. I think that's right. I've got the link in the description. Team Cup 10, 10% off any singles orders with proceeds going to support the Fab Cup. So make sure to get your singles orders in. Prices are climbing right now. I see Chad asking if we got any more games tonight. Unfortunately, we don't. That wraps up the semifinals. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Jesse, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thanks to Andy and Pat. And we'll catch you next week with the finals of the Flesh and Blood Team Cup.
Absolutely. And Adam, thank you for all you've done, being the man behind the scenes on all this. If it wasn't for you, I don't think any of these streams would have been happening. So yeah, you've been an incredible help with all this.
It's my pleasure. We're a team here. We're a team, Jesse. This wouldn't be happening without any of us. All right, everybody.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Until next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.